Carson City Debt Management Commission to order. And would you call the roll, please?
Chair Hadaway,
Here?
Vice Chair Providenti,
Here.
Commissioner Horton, Commissioner Sanada, Commissioner Walt. A quorum is present.
Okay. The second item on the agenda is public comment. The public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Carson Debt Management Commission. I see no public, so we will go on to item 3, approval of the minutes. Each of you received a copy of the minutes of the February 18th meeting. Unless there are any corrections or suggested changes, I will entertain a motion to accept these minutes as prepared.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting items. The first one is 4A, discussion and possible action regarding the reappointment of Nick Provatini, Don Hadaway, Mary Sanada to the Debt Management Commission as public at large representatives, each for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2026. The action is required by the 2 elected members, and per the district attorney's office, we will postpone this item until the next meeting, and we continue to serve until replaced. Okay, item 4B, discussion and possible action regarding Carson City's annual reports, statements of debt management policy, plans for capital improvements, and updates of information as required by NRS 350.013. Please state your name for the record.
Sherry Russell, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'll just go over a few highlights of the report. On page 29 of your packet is the executive summary, and this spells out that we have outstanding general obligation debt of $123,690,755. Of that, we have medium-term debt of $1,358,000. We also have some revenue bonds outstanding, $5,529,000. $5,529,000, I said that right. And those pay off in fiscal 28 and 30. So, we'll be looking at potentially what we want to do with that gas tax. Those are the gas bonds. Of the general obligation bonds, 62% of that is for the utility system, water and sewer. And then all of our debt has at least a minimum of a 1.5% debt service. So we can cover our debt service 1.5 times at a minimum. The last thing I want to mention, as of June 30th, 2025, the city has approximately $286,552,463 in statutory debt limit available. On page 20 of this report, Chair Hadaway mentioned that there is a reference to BAB. Those are Build American bonds. And so I just want to put that on the record because it doesn't spell that out in the report anywhere. On packet page 60, I usually just go over the general obligation debt comparison schedule.
Right.
Carson City is usually the highest, but this year Fallon beat us, which is interesting. We can do 15% of our rate of our assessed value because we're both a consolidated city and county. The rest can only do 10. So we're looking pretty good comparatively. And then on page 67 is the bond ratings that we've gotten recently. This is just kind of a feather in our cap. We are quite high grade bonds. Even though we're kind of a small entity, we have really, really great ratings. So I just want to put that on the record as well. If you have any questions, please let me know.
What's the current rates that we're paying now for interest?
Well, we usually do a lot of fixed bonds, so that it's between 2 and 3%, I believe.
Okay, okay. Okay, and is there any need to refinance any of our bonds? Are we still in good shape there?
We're in pretty good shape. We refinanced a lot when the interest rates dropped, and interest rates are still pretty high right now. So
You'll probably never see 2% again.
we'll see.
We'll see, but maybe your lifetime, but maybe not mine. Any questions on the debt management policy of the city? Mary?
Okay, I just had a quick question about the bond rating. Has the city ever used the state bond bank to issue bonds to get a better rating?
So we have used that to look at to get a good interest rate. We have done that in the past. It has to be the right timing, though. So a lot of times it doesn't work out. But we have done it in the past.
What's the issue with the timing?
They only issue once a year for
Oh, okay.
everybody. So it's depending on when we want to issue it, sometimes doesn't work out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nick, do you have any questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the debt management report from the city.
I move to accept the debt management report for the city.
Should we include?
Second.
Should we also include the capital improvement program, or is that a separate? They're basically together. Okay.
I would kind of like to look at the capital improvement
Okay,
thing separately.
okay. Okay, on the debt management policy, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, let's go to the capital improvement program. Mary, you had a question?
I guess basically my question was, in looking at the report and the indication that we have no plans to issue any new bonds, and yet I'm hearing talk of needing a new city hall, redoing the courthouse, putting in a new juvenile justice center, and so I was just curious, are we going to need bonding for that?
So for the juvenile facility, we actually have some savings in our extraordinary maintenance fund. So there aren't any plans to bond as of now, but depending on how much the bids come back and how much the estimates are, I should say, not the bids, but the estimates, we might have to look at that in the future, but right now we're not anticipating it. Same with the courthouse. Again, we're going to use redevelopment funding for the courthouse.
What?
Redevelopment funding. So that's a tax rate that we get for redevelopment, and the courthouse is in the redevelopment district. So because we need that courthouse, because now we're over 60,000 population, it kind of fits with that funding source. So we're planning on using redevelopment money for that. I do believe that the idea of a new city hall is still a little far out there, and we are not sure. We did talk about it in February with the board, but we weren't directed to aggressively move forward. So I believe we're still considering options.
Okay, thank you.
The only question I had was on the front page, the fund at the bottom. The fund is a supplemental indigent fund. What is indigent? To me is not related to capital improvements, but what could enlighten us on that title? Yeah,
Supplemental Indigent is a fund where we keep money aside for the healthcare of elderly or transient folks who, are
Yes.
indigent. And so I believe, I'm going to get to that fund real quick. I believe that was a vehicle.
That's 103.
Yeah, that was a vehicle that we purchased to help with transporting when necessary,
Oh, okay,
like cleanups and,
okay. Do we need a separate motion to accept this?
It's entirely up to you how you'd like to handle it.
Well,
You already did one motion to accept the other part, so I would recommend a second motion.
Okay,
yes.
let's have a motion to accept the 5-year capital improvement plan as presented.
I'll move to accept the 5-year capital improvement plan as presented.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okey dokey, thank you. Now, we have item 4C, discussion and possible action regarding Carson City School District's annual reports, statements of debt management policy, plans for capital improvement, and updates of information as required by 350.013. State your name, sir, and make your presentation.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Spencer Winward, the Chief Financial Operations Officer for Carson City School District. And just here to present our debt management policy and entertain any questions you may have regarding that, including our capital improvement plan. So first, many thanks to J&A Consulting, who assists us with preparing and satisfying all statutory requirements that we need to in the management of our debt management fund. Currently, the district has just over $77 million of outstanding debt, varying from bonds from 2012 is the oldest we have up to 2024 or 5. I forget which end of the fiscal year that fell on. We don't have any intention of issuing any new debt this upcoming fiscal year. Wouldn't be until FY27 that we would look at issuing the remaining $15 million of authorized debt that we have.
And we've already authorized that.
Yes,
right?
that's previously authorized. That is the remaining amount from the previous authorization. We do have no intention to issue that this fiscal year. Would be the fiscal year 27. We could, according to our tax base, issue up to $318 million worth of bonds. Obviously, there'd be other factors that could limit that amount. We are still working underneath the rollover authorization of 2010 that was renewed in 2021 and is good through 2035. Currently, we're using the majority of our bonds for rehabilitation of our existing facilities. Several of our buildings over 50 years old. We have a lot of systems in there that are reaching end of life, and to maintain our buildings in good condition, it's time to replace a lot of those, and that's what the majority of our projects are now. All of our interest rates are between 2% and 5%. 5% is what we're currently paying. We have composite interest rates on some of our bonds that are a little bit heavier. For example, our 2025 bond is probably about a 3.4% interest rate, but it's 5% at the beginning and tapers down to 2% towards the end for that composite 3.4% rate. None of it is really in position to be refinanced. Our oldest ones, 2012, 2014, and soon 2016 would be eligible for that, but interest rates currently wouldn't make sense to do that. And those are all 2012 and 24, 1 million and 1.6 million outstanding. They're not very large bond issues for remaining principal. 2016, 7.8 million. But again, not really, given the current environment, nothing that would make sense to look at refinancing for saving the school district money. I think that's about it. We have been holding more than what's required in reserves for our debt service fund to meet the statutory requirement there. We would have some funds available for pay-as-you-go for some projects that could come up. We currently have not budgeted any of that for the upcoming fiscal year. Again, that's supposed to be 50%. We're sitting at 108% in there. Again, nothing budgeted for this year to reduce that amount. Our last bond issuing, we were a high rating through Moody's AA3. Again, we're happy with that. We've been in a healthy financial position over the year, and that score certainly reflects that. Any questions regarding our debt management policy before I move on to our capital improvements project? or
Any questions?
Plan?
Okay, go ahead.
All righty. If you take a look at our capital improvement plan, we have a lot of projects for this year. And again, the unique thing with school districts is our construction season is the summer. When kids are out of school, there's very few projects that we're able to do during the school years, during holiday breaks and whatnot. So we're very heavy this year. We're wrapping up some bathroom rehabilitation, switching bathrooms to general use for safety issues. One of our largest things, we have an HVAC project at the high school. It'll be about 8 million. Initially, that was planned for the summer, but was postponed this year for a number of different circumstances. Also, we just had a lot going on this year, so it was okay to move a larger project. That's partly why we're not issuing anything new bonds, is we have a high dollar amount earmarked for that we're using before we issue that final 15 million. Again, a lot of rehabilitation of our parking lots. We found that if we are working on those, we get a lot more lifespan without having to completely tear them out and redo them. So we're using some of those items to extend the life of our existing properties and improvements. Any questions regarding any of our projects?
No, you're fortunate, I guess, to not have any building pressures like a lot of the school districts around the state.
It does kind of feel like the calm before the storm was, like I said, our buildings are aging, still
Right.
serviceable, but it would be difficult to replace a high school with the current tax structure.
Right, for sure. Yes,
So how is our school enrollment? Isn't it kind of stable or?
I don't think stable is quite the word
No.
to describe it. It is a gentle decline. I think it's
General
probably a pretty good way.
decline, yeah.
We're generally kind of what happens, we graduated a class of, or right, 580, 600 students, and we have a class of 480, 500 replacing it. So about ninth grade is where we have a shelf where those larger classes will get to be close to what our actual average class size is. But for the last several years, we've lost right around 100 students, give or take, just kind of a gentle decline as to match the demographics of Carson City.
So there's no foreseeable need to build the new high school or anything?
No, 2015, 16, we've probably been like, oh, we've got a plan for that.
Yeah.
That certainly could change, but as it is now and all of our projections for the foreseeable 10 years at least, we wouldn't see any need to build an additional school.
is the current high school at capacity?
It is not. It's right around 2,200 students. As about 4 or 5 years ago, it was at 2450, which would be closer to capacity. I don't know exactly what its exact capacity is, but there's plenty of room there.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the school district's debt management report as well as the capital improvement plan.
I'll do it. I move to accept the Carson City School District's annual report, statements of debt management policy, and plans for capital improvement and updates of information.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Appreciate your time. 4D is discussion and possible action regarding specifying the percentage of limitation on total ad valorem tax levy as required by NRS 350-0155. It must be, not be less than 75%.
And I believe
We have been at 90% for as long as I can remember. And unless there's any appetite to change that, I'll entertain a motion to have 90% as required by 350-0155.
so moved.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okey-dokey. 4E is, again, a standard requirement, discussion and possible action regarding establishing priorities about essential and non-essential facilities and services as required by 350-0155. Essential facilities and services are those related to public safety, education, and health, and non-essential facilities and services are all other facilities and services. Again, for as long as I can remember, we have established public safety, education, and health as the three priorities that that we operate under in this county. Any questions or comments or suggestions of change? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion to set those three as the priorities under 350-0155.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we don't have a calendar. 4F is discussion regarding the date and time of the next commission meeting. It's in February, and normally it's the, what, third Tuesday?
Yeah, I think it's the third Tuesday, but it looks like any Tuesday in February will work at 1:30.
Let me see here. That would be the 17th?
Yeah, the 17th works.
Okay. Anyone have heartburn with anything of that date? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to establish February 17th at 1:30 Tuesday as the next meeting.
Do we want to do a motion?
Uh,
So moved, or just
Just
discussion?
discussion,
Just in
okay.
case that we can't.
For the record,
they can change it.
it will be 2/17 at 1:30 unless there is a conflict and the city can set it accordingly.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
item 5 is the public is invited at this time to comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on this matter raised under this item on the agenda. There are no citizens, so we will enter that in the motion, and I call the meeting to adjourn. Thank you, guys, for coming, and gals, guys and gals. And we'll see you in February. And hopefully we'll get, I'll see Molly. Could you remind Molly?